Alright, hey guys. So, you might have came to this video to discover how to do some certain specific things in Rec Room, such as editing players' locomotion and allowing certain players to pick up some guns or pass through certain areas. So, we can do this all with one item in Rec Room, and that item is the Roll Chip gadget. I'll be showing you much more about this Roll Chip gadget throughout this video. There's so much to cover, so if I do miss something, please let me know in the comments and I'll try to make a follow-up video for that. There's so much to cover. Anyways, let's get into this. First, you're going to want to get out your MakerPen. Now to get out your MakerPen in Rec Room, you want to open up your watch, go to your home page, go to your backpack, and then hit use on the MakerPen. But if you have your MakerPen favorited, you can simply pull it from behind your back. Now once you have your MakerPen out, flip up the MakerPen to open up your menu, hit open palette, and then we're going to go to the gadgets tab, and under the filters we're going to use a game chip. On the second page of game chips we're using a roll chip. So we're going to be doing this roll chip for a certain amount of players to be able to, for certain groups of players to go through a certain area, and much of other things. Maybe these players will be able to walk faster and jump higher, all that kind of stuff. So now whenever you go to your roll chip, there's two different ways that you can configure them. You can use the configuration mode on the MakerPen by pointing it here, and then the roll chip configuration menu pops up. Or if you really want to, note that this part here is for co-owners and above only in a room. If you really wanted to, you can open up your watch, go to this room, and then hit settings of this room. Then hit settings of this room, and then scroll over here on the top to game roles. So here are all the roles in our room, and if you can't find your role because you put it somewhere in the room and you lost it, this is an easy way to access it. Now here you can see the role that I spawned in, which is new role. Now we're going to change the name of this role by using the configuration mode of the MakerPen, and I'm going to name this role number 1 because this is going to be the first class of people. This is the most important people in my room. Now I want these people to walk slightly faster than the average player, so we're gonna change their walk speed to 2.4 meters. We want to make it so they can sprint. Now I currently don't have this role, so if you want to give the role to players, there's multiple ways you can do this. You can use trigger volume gadgets, you can use range finders, but the main gadget that you're going to always want to have is a roll mapper chip. Now I'm going to show you guys just a quick way of how you can use it. So with this gadget, you're going to have to use the configuration mode no matter what you do. Now the mode, we're not checking for a player role, we're adding a player role. Now let's map the role. We're going to be giving them the role number 1. So now we need to get the player's ID so we can hand them their role. So what you're going to want to do here is go to other chips or other gadgets, my bad, and then use the rangefinder. Now you can use the trigger volume or anything, but now with your rangefinder, you're going to want to wire the blue output to the red over here. So this will get the player ID, and this will chuck it into the input here, so it gives it to that certain player. Now we're going to want to configure this and set the red pin of the rangefinder to 1. Now you can see the red laser here, and if we do this, make sure I can see it, and we do this, it clearly hit me, and now I walk just a tad bit faster than I did before. Now if we configure this menu again and we edit the role, we can, let me close my roll chip menu out here, we can configure our role here. Now let's set my walk speed. Now you can see I'm much faster than before, which that's because I have the role now applied to me as a person. Not everybody will have this unless they come through to this rangefinder and make it so you get the role. Now we can set it up so only certain roles can hold this rangefinder. And with roles, as a matter of fact, if you go to the permissions of your room, you can make it so certain people like hosts, moderators, and co-owners automatically have roles the second they spawn in or the second you give them it. So for most maps, they give people like their admins, so hosts and above, most admin, like people like that, they give them fly. Now to do that, you need to create a fly role. More on that though will be linked in the description. This video is for an in-depth of roles, like overall, not just a flight roll. So if you want to know a bit more about flight roles, I have a very simple tutorial for that, and I'll link it down in the role applied to us. I'll show you guys how to make a room that is only accessible to people of my role. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get out your MakerPen, open your palette, and then go to gadgets. You're going to want to go to other gadgets, and then on the first page there's the invisible collision. You're going to want to put that in an invisible collision about the size of the doorway that you want. Now, just for this quick showcase, I'm not going to have a doorway, but I'm going to have this. Now notice, I cannot walk past right here where the invisible collision is. Now if I configure this using the configuration mode, I can make it so it's only disabled for, and the roll filter, my roll filter is 1, which the filter is just the name of your roll. So now I walk exactly through this. The invisible collision does no longer affect me. Now you can also do this using a trigger volume and a respawn gizmo. So if you really want to make it so VR players aren't able to glitch through into your buildings, instead of using an invisible collision like behind me, you can use a trigger volume and a respawn gizmo or gadget. So moving on, you can also make it so people with certain roles can see certain effects. So if you go to gadgets here and then go to other chips, you can make it so players can see the settings of your fog chip, your background chip, and even a Skydome chip. So if you set up a custom Skydome, like the following I'm gonna do, make it so the sky top color is yellow. Now notice how for me it's yellow. When I drop it, it's no longer yellow. We need to configure this red pin so it's enabled always. Now it's always yellow outside. If you notice that, I can make it so that it's no longer yellow out for regular people. So exclusive to player role number 1. I currently removed the role number 1 for me, and if you want to know how to remove roles from players, I'll show you in the next clip here. I'm going to show you how to remove roles from players. Now, we're going to be using the same setup that we did before to give you your player role, so you can either use a rangefinder or a trigger volume or any other way that you can figure out how to grab a player's ID. Now, we're going to want to configure the role mapper chip, and then use the mode remove player role, and then role mapping, set it to the role that you want to remove from them. Now, just to prove that it did remove it from me successfully, we're going to add the role back to me, and as you see, the sky becomes yellow again. And like I said in the last clip, only the role number 1 can see this yellow sky. Also, I move fast again because the setting of the role has that setting enabled.